What's up guys, John here and welcome back to John Moon Studios. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to use project alternatives inside of Logic Pro X, so let's get right to it. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to go ahead and save this project. And let's save it into our desktop. I'm going to go ahead and call this just a test project. And I'm going to save it as a package file instead of a folder structure. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. Now, the point behind project alternative files is so that you can save different versions of, let's say, this session inside of one project file instead of having 3 or 4 or 5 different Logic project file. So if we go up here to File and go to where it says Project Alternatives, we have the option to do a new alternative. So if I go ahead and click New Alternative, we now have this pop-up come up and we can call this Test Project whatever, or New Mix, or Extra Backup. However you want to use alternatives, it's all up to you. So you can use this as a backup. So let's say you're working on a mix and you just want to save from time to time different mixes as you go along. You could do that as well. Let's say you could do a different arrangement inside of your tracks. You can do that as well and save it as a project alternative. So I'm just going to go ahead and call this test project number 1, or number 2 rather, because we already have a 1. Number 2, and then it's going to ask you if you want to save anything made in this project. We're going to go ahead and say save, because anytime you make an alternative, you're essentially opening up a brand new session of Logic Pro X within the same folder structure. So I'll go ahead and get into detail with that. So now we have the test project, and then inside the test project, we're in alternative test project number 2. If we go back to File and we go under Project Alternatives, you're going to see that we now have 2 projects here. The first one we made and number 2. So let's say on this one, we just want to create another instrument track. I'm going to go ahead and leave it just like that. And I'm going to go into Project Alternative and say, well, what if I like the mix I did in the previous session? Or I like the arrangement I had in the previous section. Now, of course, I don't have any information here, but this is all hypothetical. If we open up the test project, it's going to ask me to save this project. I'm going to say, okay, let's go ahead and save this one. And now it's going to reboot the old project session, which happens to be the one with only 1 instrument. So as you can see, we have this version of the project alternative, and then we can go right back into project number 2. And again, it prompts you with this save. We're going to go ahead and press save, and then it's going to open up the other Logic session, which happens to have both instruments saved in here. So of course, I told you that this is all inside of one file. So if I actually bring in the file from my other monitor here is the project file. Now it won't let me open it up here, but here I have the project file on my desktop. So if I actually show you here, go to my desktop, find the file which is titled test. Let's see right here, test project. I'm gonna right click on this and then show package contents. Now it's gonna open this window here. Now inside of this window, you're able to see your clip list, so any audio files that you have in here. And then you can also see alternatives. So alternatives is going to have the 000, which is your first copy. And then you have the 001, which is the second alternative. And as you can see, the extra instrument track added, let's see, this is 114 kilobytes, and this one has 105 kilobytes. So this one has more information because I've added that extra track to it. So now if we go back into our Logic session and say, well, I like this mix, let me go ahead and make a separate project from this. I'm going to go into File, and I'm going to go to where it says Project Alternatives, and then do Export Alternative as Project. When I click on this, you're going to get prompted with the export window, and here you can save this, and let's say we can call it Test Project Final. I'm going to go ahead and save that again as a package save. Now, when I go here to desktop and I find that file again, now I have a test project final here as well. So this is a great way to save all of your projects within a project and not have to have a ton of folder structures or packaged Logic sessions in your desktop or your hard drive kind of cluttering up things. Now, the only downside to using the project alternatives is that if you do multiple mixes inside of this folder, make sure you back up that session, because if you end up losing that folder structure and you only have one copy, then you just lost all of the project alternatives with it as well. So make a backup of that one packaged folder or the folder structure that you have the option to choose when you are saving your sessions. So the only difference between the packaged and the folder structure is that if you have a package save, so let me show you. If I have a package save, then it's going to show up as one logic file like this. But if you have a folder saved, then let's say you save this as test project, and I'm just going to go ahead and just call it something else. Let's say project number 3. We're going to save it as a folder structure now. Now, when I open up my Finder, you're going to see that it's now in a folder structure. So when I open this folder structure, it's going to break down all of the assets you have in here. So if you have any samples, if you have any audio clips in here, if you have any presets that you're using with, let's say, plugins like Alchemy, you have the actual project file. Everything is going to be separated for you in the folder structure. If you have it as a package structure, then it's only going to show up as this kind of structure, where you can open the contents inside by right-clicking and then hitting media or resources or alternatives to see everything that you have in here. So you can take it a step further. Let's say you are working on a project alternative and we have test project number 3 here. So now we have 3 and then we have number 2 of this one. We can actually go to project management and then we can clean up whatever we have in this. So essentially what this does is that it's going to delete any unused files. So if Logic detects that you're not using an audio clip or something like that inside of this session, it's going to delete that. It's going to delete any backups you have, and it's also going to delete any media browser files that you have. If I choose the other option, which is consolidate, what it's going to do is it's going to erase everything from, let's say, alternatives 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're just going to keep all of it and copy it into alternative 1. So you have the option to copy all the audio files, the sampler, the Ultra B, Space Designer, any of these things. You have the option to consolidate it, and this copies all of the assets from any alternative of the current project. So you're just pretty much putting it all inside of one file once again. In project alternative as well, you can edit all of the alternatives. So if I hit the edit alternatives, you're going to see that within this menu, you see all of the alternatives you've made so far with a timestamp so that you know exactly when you made this alternative and the date that you made this alternative in. You can rename or you can remove an alternative whenever you want. And then when you're done with it, you could just hit done and you're ready to go. So this was a basic tutorial on how to use project alternatives. And again, you can incorporate this into your workflow by creating either a backup system or maybe a mix that you're working on and you want to save it through progressions. Or maybe you're collaborating with artists and you send this Logic session to an artist and they have their own project alternative inside of your Logic session so that you can see, let's say, how they would have arranged it or how they would have mixed it. It's a great way to collaborate with other people and see all of the alternatives inside of one project file, because that's really what it comes down to. You want to be able to transfer one file instead of transferring, let's say, like 3 or 4 different Logic sessions to send to artists to collaborate. If you have any questions throughout the video, just go ahead and drop your comments down below and I'll get to them as soon as possible. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the ring button so you don't miss any of my weekly videos. Also, don't forget to check out the John Moon Studios store. I have a variety of merch with the official John Moon Studios logo on it, so go ahead and check it out. As always, don't forget to share with your musician friends. I will see you guys soon.